You keep telling yourself you'll start when you feel ready. But notice something. You've been saying that for a long time. Nothing is technically wrong. Your life isn't falling apart, and that's the problem. You wake up, you scroll, you plan, you promise yourself tomorrow will be different. And then tomorrow quietly becomes today again. Not because you're incapable, not because you're unlucky, but because every day, in small, invisible ways, you prove to yourself who you are. Mindset isn't what you think in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's what you do when the feeling fades, when the excitement dies, when there's no pressure forcing your hand. Right now, your life is honest. It's showing you the result of repeated choices you barely noticed making. And if you click away from this, nothing dramatic will happen. No loss, no punishment. You'll just keep living inside the same pattern, calling it a phase, calling it patience, calling it potential. Stay. Because the reason you're still here is the reason everything feels stuck. You don't lack information. That's never been the issue. You've watched the videos, read the threads, saved the quotes. You know the language of improvement fluently. You start strong. There's a day, sometimes a week, where everything feels aligned. You wake up earlier, you tell yourself this time is different, and for a moment, it is. Then something subtle happens, not a failure, not a breakdown, just a quiet drift. One skipped task, one delayed decision. One night where you tell yourself it's fine to reset tomorrow. And tomorrow listens. Tomorrow always listens. You stay busy, you answer messages, you plan future versions of your life in your head. You stay in motion just enough to avoid asking the uncomfortable question. Why does nothing actually change? You look around quietly. Friends moving forward, strangers passing milestones. People who once asked you for advice now speaking with certainty. You don't say anything, you nod, you smile. You tell yourself everyone has their own timing, but late at night when the noise drops, you feel it. That pressure behind the ribs, that awareness you can't scroll past. You know what the right mindset looks like. You just don't live there consistently. You consume motivation like proof of effort, as if watching someone else act brave counts as progress, as if understanding replaces doing. Your days feel full, but your life feels paused, busy but unchanged, thinking but not becoming. And so you say you're still figuring things out, not because it's true, but because it buys you time. Time from accountability. Time from choosing. Time from admitting that comfort has quietly replaced intention. You're not lost, you're rehearsing. Rehearsing a life you haven't stepped into yet. Standing just close enough to growth to recognize it, but far enough away to avoid the cost. And the most unsettling part, no one else can see this. From the outside, you look fine. It's only you who knows how many times you almost began. There's a version of you that speaks very clearly. It talks about where you're headed, about the life you intend to build, about the standards you say you're moving toward. That version sounds convincing, even inspiring. But there's another version of you that speaks louder. It doesn't use words, it uses repetition. It shows up in what you avoid, in what you delay, in what you tolerate longer than you should. Every day, without announcing itself, that version casts a vote. Not for who you want to become, but for who you are willing to remain. You say you want growth, but when the moment asks for discomfort, you negotiate, you soften the edges, you promise effort later, you say you want change. But when change demands consistency, you disappear into excuses that sound reasonable enough to believe. This is where mindset reveals itself, not during speeches, not during planning, but under pressure. When the alarm rings and no one is watching, when progress feels boring instead of exciting. When effort stops being praised and starts being expected. Your life right now isn't accidental, it's precise. It reflects the choices you repeat when motivation is absent. It mirrors the standards you enforce only when it's convenient. And somewhere along the way, you learn to hide behind a comforting idea, potential. Potential sounds generous, it sounds hopeful, it sounds like a compliment. But potential asks for nothing today. It delays responsibility. It allows you to feel special without becoming different. So you protect it. You avoid situations that might expose the gap between who you believe you are and what you actually do. You stay just active enough to feel involved, just distracted enough to avoid clarity. And that's where the tension lives, because you can feel it. That quiet fracture between identity and behavior, between intention and proof. You know the distance isn't huge. That's what makes it unbearable. It's close enough to reach, close enough to haunt you, close enough that ignoring it takes effort. This is the moment most people turn away. They label it self-doubt. They call it overthinking. They drown it in noise. But this discomfort is information. It's asking a question you haven't answered yet. Not who do you want to be? You've answered that many times. The real question is simpler and harder. Who are you willing to show up as when no one is impressed and nothing feels urgent and the result won't arrive anytime soon? If this conflict is real, and you know it is, then what comes next can't be another explanation. It has to be a decision. Here is the part most people avoid, not because it's harsh, but because it removes the last place to hide. No one is coming, not the right person, not the perfect opportunity, not the version of you that suddenly feels ready. If help was going to arrive, it would have shown up by now. This isn't pessimism, it's clarity. Motivation will not carry you. It never has. It visits briefly. It speaks loudly. And then it leaves without explanation. If motivation were reliable, your life would already look different. You felt motivated before, strongly, sincerely, and still here you are. That's because motivation responds to emotion, and emotion is unstable. Mindset does not live there. Mindset shows up when nothing feels rewarding, when progress is quiet, when effort produces no visible return. Waiting for the right feeling is not patience, it's avoidance. Every time you say, "I'll start when things calm down," or "I'll focus when life gives me space," you are choosing delay. Waiting is not neutral. It points in a direction. Life does not improve because conditions improve. Conditions improve because behavior changes. Read that again slowly. Mindset doesn't shift when life becomes easier. Life becomes easier when your standards rise, and standards are not thoughts. They are actions you repeat even when they're inconvenient. You don't think your way into discipline. You move your way into it. Your thoughts follow your actions, not the reverse. You don't wake up confident and then act. You act, and confidence forms behind you. You don't feel focused and then commit. You commit, and focus catches up. This is where the illusion breaks. You've been trying to solve a behavioral problem with reflection. You've been trying to think your way into a different life. But mindset is not a mood, it's a pattern. And patterns don't respond to hope. They respond to repetition. Look closely at your days, not your plans, not your intentions. Your days, they tell the truth. They show what you value, what you tolerate, what you prioritize without speaking. And if that truth makes you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort means you're close to something real, because comfort is what kept everything the same. This moment doesn't ask you to believe in yourself. It doesn't ask you to feel inspired. It asks something simpler: to stop waiting, to stop negotiating, to stop pretending that clarity comes before action. Responsibility is not heavy, it's precise. Once you accept that nothing is coming to change this for you, the noise disappears. No more searching, no more hoping, no more rehearsing, only the next action, then the next. This is how mindset is built, quietly, relentlessly, without permission. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. Because from here on, every delay will feel like a choice. And every choice will feel like a vote for the life you keep saying you want. If mindset were something you could think your way into, you would already be there. So let's strip this down to what actually works. Improving mindset doesn't begin with emotion. It begins with direction. Stop asking how you feel. That question changes too often to build anything on. Start asking something quieter, something practical. What do I do next? Not later, not tomorrow, next. This is the shift most people miss. They wait for alignment, they wait for confidence, they wait for clarity. But clarity is not the entrance, it's the result. You don't find mindset by searching inward, you shape it by acting outward. Here's the first truth you have to accept. You do not rise to who you want to be. You fall to who you believe you are, and belief isn't a thought, it's a pattern. You act like the person you think you are allowed to be, the one you've rehearsed through repetition. That's why identity comes before emotion. Identity is not something hidden inside you waiting to be uncovered. It's trained, quietly, daily, without drama. Every small action is a signal, not to the world, to you. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, something subtle forms: trust. Not loud confidence, not motivation, trust. And trust changes how you move. This is where discipline enters, not as punishment, but as structure. Discipline is not intensity, it's not force. It's consistency without negotiation. When you show up again and again, and again, you stop questioning yourself. And when self-doubt loses its voice, mindset shifts naturally. Not because you told yourself to believe, but because your actions made belief unavoidable. This is the part people misunderstand. Mindset is built from the outside in. You don't wait until you believe to act. You act until belief has no choice but to follow. Momentum creates belief. Belief does not create momentum. Read that slowly. Every time you take the next step, even while uncertain, you reduce friction. The path becomes clearer after you walk it. So here is the real solution without complexity. Decide the next action. Make it small enough to complete. Do it without discussion. Then repeat. No journaling about it. No analyzing how it made you feel. No searching for meaning. Completion first. Reflection later. This is not about becoming a different person overnight. It's about narrowing the gap between what you say and what you do. That gap is where mindset weakens. Close it even slightly, and something shifts. You stop asking for proof that you can change. You become the proof. This is not inspiring, it's effective. And effectiveness builds something far stronger than motivation. It builds alignment. When your actions and identity stop arguing with each other, mental strength becomes quiet, stable, reliable. This is what improving mindset actually looks like. Not a breakthrough, not a revelation, just a series of decisions made without waiting for permission from your emotions. And once you understand this, you stop chasing mindset. You build it one action at a time. There is a moment in every real change when progress stops feeling hopeful and starts feeling heavy. This is the moment most people misread. They think something is wrong. They think they've lost momentum. They think the fire went out. What actually happened is that the lesson arrived. Pain is not an interruption, it is instruction. Avoidance teaches the wrong lesson. Every time you step around discomfort, you train yourself to retreat. Not dramatically, quietly. You learn what you are willing to escape, and your mind remembers. Discomfort, on the other hand, does something precise. It sharpens attention. It narrows focus. It removes fantasy. When something is hard, you stop pretending. You deal with what is real. This is how strength is formed, not through confidence, but through contact. Contact with effort, with resistance, with the part of you that wants to quit early. The mistake is believing that intensity is the answer, that one powerful day will undo months of inconsistency. It won't. Intensity excites the ego. Repetition changes the brain. A strong mindset is not loud. It is familiar, built from actions so small they feel insignificant, repeated so often they become automatic. One walk taken when you didn't feel like it. One task finished without enthusiasm. One promise kept without applause. These moments don't feel heroic. That's why they work. Consistency rewires how you see yourself. Not how you feel, how you identify. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" Because you've already done it again and again. This is where many people fall off. Not because it's painful, but because it's quiet. There is no announcement phase, no recognition, no external signal that you're changing. Growth happens in silence. No one claps when you choose discipline over distraction. No one notices when you show up early or stay late or keep going without results. You start to feel invisible, and that loneliness tests you. It asks a hard question. Will you continue without witnesses? Most people answer no, not consciously. They just drift. They look for noise again, for validation, for something to make it feel important. That's why mindset stays fragile, because it was built for performance, not endurance. The strongest shifts happen when no one is watching, when you are alone with your standards, when the work feels dull and unfinished. This is where the real separation happens. Those who quit here were never lacking motivation. They were lacking tolerance for quiet effort. But if you stay, if you keep repeating the work without feedback, something settles. You stop needing to be convinced. You stop bargaining with discomfort. You stop waiting for reassurance. Your mind becomes steady, not excited, not dramatic, reliable. This is what a strong mindset looks like from the inside. Calm under pressure, clear under fatigue, present without noise. It wasn't built in a single decision. It was forged through patience with repetition, through respect for the process, through staying when leaving would have been easier. And once this takes hold, life doesn't suddenly become easy, but you become harder to break. Because you are no longer fueled by emotion. You are carried by habit, anchored by identity, strengthened by silence. This is the phase no one romanticizes, which is exactly why it works. Listen carefully. Nothing about you is defective. Nothing needs fixing. You weren't born behind. You weren't missed by fate. You weren't excluded from whatever others seem to have figured out. You were trained by repetition you didn't question, trained by patterns you inherited, trained by moments where choosing comfort felt harmless. That training shaped how you respond, not who you are, and training can be changed. You are not behind. You are delayed by indecision. Delayed by moments where you waited for certainty instead of choosing a direction. Delayed by conversations you had with yourself where hesitation sounded like wisdom. But hear this clearly. Indecision is not a personality trait, it's a habit. And habits are not permanent. Your mindset does not improve when you finally feel confident. It improves the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. The moment you stop asking if today counts, if this effort matters, if you can ease up just once more. Negotiation weakens resolve. Decision sharpens it. This is the difference between who you've been and who you're capable of becoming. Not intelligence, Not talent, not background, decision. A single point where you choose a standard and refuse to revisit it every time discomfort appears. You've lived long enough questioning yourself, second-guessing, reopening decisions that should have been settled. That ends here. This is the version of you that decides once and follows through. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, consistently. This version does not wait to feel ready. It moves while uncertain. It acts while uncomfortable. It trusts action more than thought. And once that shift happens, something irreversible begins. Your mind stops arguing. Your energy stops leaking. Your focus stops scattering. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from alignment. Alignment between what you say and what you do. You don't need a new personality. You don't need a breakthrough moment. You need a line you will not cross backward. A standard you don't debate at night. A promise you keep even when no one knows. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about finally standing fully as who you already are when excuses are removed. You are not broken. You were trained wrong. And today, not tomorrow, not someday, that training changes direction. Not with noise, not with hype. With a decision that doesn't ask permission from mood or circumstance. The music rises because this is the turn. Not a peak of emotion, a peak of ownership. From here on, every action reinforces this identity. Every follow-through strengthens it. Every moment you refuse to negotiate makes it real. This is the version of you that no longer wonders if change is possible, because you've started proving it. Now it comes down to this. Not the advice you've heard before, not the techniques or tricks, not the inspiration that fades when the video ends. This is about ownership, not applause, not approval, not recognition. Everything that follows depends on what you do with this moment. Ask yourself, what word defines the mindset you are choosing today? One word, not a sentence, not a promise, just the essence of the version of you that refuses hesitation. Say it aloud if you have to. Write it down. Let it anchor something real inside you. Then tomorrow, before your day begins, watch this again. Not for motivation, for alignment. To remind yourself what you decided when no one was looking. If there is a version of you that has kept quitting, that has negotiated with fear, that has waited for permission to act, share this with it. Let it witness what you are willing to choose. No further instructions, no commentary, just this. Decide, act, repeat. And then let the silence hold the weight of what that means. Because once it lands, nothing feels the same.